Florida Bill SB 254 was just signed into law this morning by Ron DeSantis. As of today, it goes into effect today. If you have a child and you or your partner live in the state of Florida, you don't even have to live in Florida, but if you have a partner, an ex-partner who lives in the state of Florida who has shared custody of your children, they can legally kidnap your children by just accusing you of exposing them to gender-affirming care. There is no due process. There is no investigation that occurs. The state will come in and take your kids. Or if you are a trans person with children, the state can come in and kidnap your kids legally. There is no plan to update the foster care system to take account for all of the children that will now be removed from safe, loving homes. This is genocide. This is the legal definition of genocide.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Clown News Network, CNN, getting ratioed, and deservingly so, because they've gone full Babylon B, okay? As you can see here, they posted this tweet here with a video about a family of 4 living in suburban Florida that is fleeing the state because their kid, okay, this kid right here, their teenager, can't get access to puberty blockers and sex change operations because Ron DeSantis has done something great for that state and banned this type of stuff for minors who want to transition their sex. Now, again, CNN decided to highlight this as if this is a good thing, as if this family's been oppressed and yada, yada, yada. And as you can see here, on 4.2 million views, they're getting ratioed, right? 1,780 likes to 9,544 comments, 1,452 retweets, which definitely means that people definitely do not agree with what CNN is promoting here, okay? And we're gonna watch it because, again, CNN is going full Babylon beat, right? This, again, is out of a parody, okay? You would think that this would be satire, this is a joke, but it's not a joke, right? You got families that are literally fleeing Florida because their kids can't undergo sex changes. Yeah, we are truly living in cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs world here. Now, I know that some of you guys in the comment section are gonna say, oh my God, you highlight CNN too much, you talk about CNN too much. Well, the reason why I've been doing so lately is because CNN has gotten extra crazy, right? They've gone extra woke ever since their new CEO, Chris Lynch, basically got fired. He got ousted by the woke employees at CNN because, you know, CNN was moving in a more neutral direction. Ever since that guy left, CNN has gone full MSNBC, right? And we all know how crazy MSNBC is. CNN has definitely just decided, hey, we're going to move in that direction. We're going to be just unabashedly woke, okay? We're just going to, you know, be as far left as we can. And again, this is a part of the agenda that's being pushed at the Clown News Network, which is why the network is failing, right? This is why they're on the verge of collapse because of stuff like this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and react to this because this is just crazy, right? This is extremely disturbing.
We just thought it would be a nice, warm place to live where we could get to beaches.
I just never thought that I would have to flee a state for the good of my children.
The SB 254, this will permanent outlaw the mutilation of minors.
I remember Tori coming to me one time and in tears, which she doesn't normally do. And I asked her what was wrong and she said DeSantis. And like the fact that a governor would be making my kid cry, that's a messed up government.
Oh my God. You would think, you know, DeSantis is the Antichrist in regards to the way that the liberal media talks about DeSantis, okay? I mean, it's almost like anything this man says, the mainstream liberal media is trying to make it seem so much more worse than what it is. I mean, the guy is saying, look, we don't want children to undergo, sex change operations and to put hormones into their bodies, which, you know, again, long-term could have adverse effects. It's something they can regret. We don't want them making these decisions before they're fully developed, before the age of 18. And apparently this is making trans kids boohoo, whine, and cry. Right? According to CNN, okay? And these woke parents. Who knows how they found these parents? But again, apparently this is what's happening, okay, in Florida. Trans kids are boohoo, whining, and crying, breaking down in tears because they can't get access to puberty blockers and hormone therapies and sex change operations. Again, we're living in clown world, man. And this is Clown News Network basically celebrating living in clown world.
We're absolutely moving because of the political climate and the laws in Florida. We didn't want to move. When the Florida Board of Medicine started meeting and we realized that they were going to ban gender-affirming care for our kids, that we might need to leave because that is life-saving, essential medicine and treatment for our daughter.
Life-saving medicine and treatment. Again, what facts and evidence backs up this claim? Okay, because even after these kids receive this treatment, there's no evidence that it actually deals with the underlying conditions that they are experiencing, right? So the self-deletion risk for transgender teenagers is definitely more elevated than the general population, and that is an issue that we should deal with. But I don't think that there is any convincing evidence out there that giving kids access to these hormone treatments and sex change operations is going to really help with that, okay? Again, that's what really bothers me the most about this, is that the left frames this as if, well, if you're against this, then, you must want, kids to die. And that's just certainly not the case. I am pro providing these kids with whatever help they need to deal with puberty, because that's what they're dealing with, right? They're dealing with puberty, and puberty for some people can be uncomfortable. I mean, I remember going through puberty, right? And I wasn't necessarily uncomfortable with it, right? But it was a whole new world, right? It was a whole different sort of feelings that you're experiencing, and it is a very important time in any kid's life. I can definitely see how, again, a young man could be uncomfortable with experiencing puberty, right? And the things that come along with it. I can definitely understand how a young girl could be uncomfortable with experiencing puberty, right? Getting period, right? And dealing with periods and, what it means to develop into a woman. It can be an uncomfortable thing for some children, right? But just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean that you should stop it, right? Or that you should block it from happening, okay? Because they're uncomfortable with it. That to me doesn't seem to be the right solution. And it definitely doesn't seem to me to be the right solution to conclude that because a child is uncomfortable with puberty, that means that they're trans. That to me is just, I don't really understand that logic. I'm not following that logic. And I'm just not convinced that just because somebody is uncomfortable with puberty means that they're trans. Okay, that just means they're uncomfortable with puberty. And the solution is not to stop something that happens in somebody's body biologically and naturally. I think the solution is to help them deal with it and to promote access to mental health, to help these kids basically, again, cope with puberty, at least until they get to the age of 18, right? And once they become 18, I really don't care, right? They can do whatever they want to do with their bodies, but at least give them some time to maybe grow out of whatever experiences they are going through that is making them believe that, hey, I need to transition my sex, okay? Give them some time to actually really think through exactly what they're doing. Right? I really don't see the negative downside to it. Okay, but here's the thing. I think Republicans aren't necessarily doing a great job in regards to messaging on this. And I think that they need to come out here and be more pro-trans mental health care, right? In the sense that they need to say, look, we don't want to allow these children to undergo these operations for various reasons. However, we will give them whatever type of mental health access they need, okay, in order to help deal with what they're experiencing in their transition, at least into the age of 18, right? We'll do that, okay? And then after that, hey, they're free to do whatever they want to do, okay? Knock yourself out. But, yeah, it's just puberty, man. It's puberty.
I was very relieved when we decided to leave. I had never really heard that much about trans people, and until I was like 11 or 12, I didn't even know trans people existed. So I was just used to being uncomfortable.
Yeah, so here we go. What I tell you, until I was 11 or 12, I didn't even know that trans people existed. So I was just used to being uncomfortable. So again, 11, 12, 13, that's when you're going through puberty. So clearly this person is uncomfortable with going through puberty, right? They didn't come to the conclusion themselves that, hey, I'm trans. Okay, this person didn't come to that conclusion themselves. They only came to that conclusion when they heard about the possibility that, hey, maybe you're trans because you're uncomfortable with puberty, right? Again, that's what I'm talking about, okay? This is what we talk about. This is why we push back so hard on this stuff being pushed on children in school, because what happens is that you have kids, a lot of whom are uncomfortable with puberty, and then they're being told that, well, because you're uncomfortable with puberty, you might be trans. Lo and behold, seems to me this is what happened. And now what happens is they say, well, because you're uncomfortable with puberty, we need to block it, right? We need puberty blockers. Eventually, they get on hormone treatments and hormone therapies that affirm, that they're the opposite gender or sex or whatever. And then eventually it leads to sex change operations, all while not actually addressing the underlying issues that a lot of these kids are dealing with, right? Which is why the self-deletion rate is still elevated amongst people even after they transition. The reason why is because you're not dealing with the actual real issue. You're putting a Band-Aid on an open wound, okay? That's what you're doing. And it's really sad. It really is.
I started hormone blockers pretty soon after that.
Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, there was times before she started getting hormones and stuff that she was suicidal, but after she transitioned, she was much more outgoing, much more like comfortable with herself.
Yeah, because this person was uncomfortable going through male puberty, right? So again, that's something in my opinion that probably most kids will grow out of. You get used to it, right? You get used to puberty. Give it some time, right? Give it some time. No. They're not giving it time anymore. They're just throwing these kids on these drugs because there's a multi-million, probably billion-dollar industry that is growing out of this stuff. There's a reason why you have more kids identifying with this stuff more so than ever before, is because the medical professionals have realized that, hey, we can make a hell of a lot of money off of this, right? We can make a hell of a lot of money taking advantage of kids who are uncomfortable with puberty and pushing these drugs on them, right? Again, that's the issue here.
Okay, careful.
We are seeing many families that are leaving. I really think if you were to ask a member of a trans family, they would tell you they go to bed at night dreaming of how to get out of the state.
Again, this is not the own that CNN thinks that it is, that the liberal media thinks that it is, that you got a lot of these families moving out of Florida, right? I think families that are grounded in common sense are probably, having a sigh of relief, right? To hear that, hey, the woke revolutionaries are moving out of our state, right? That means that the state is becoming more red, okay? Which is what the people with common sense in Florida want anyway. So, I mean, it's not the own that they think it is.
So that's the dining room right here, and then this is the living room.
My hope for the McKee family is they are able to find a community that embraces them.
We're lucky that we're able to get out, we're able to afford to leave. A lot of people can't, or it's going to be very difficult.
I feel really bad for the people that have to stay here. It's been difficult to access my hormones. I'm not honestly sure how I would continue to access care. Even if I wasn't trans, I wouldn't be comfortable here. It's just not a safe environment for queer people in general.
Again, this idea that kids need to be in a safe environment away from people who disagree with them politically or disagree with their worldview is just, again, this is why society is so soft, right? This is why kids are growing up the way they're growing up, is because we're telling kids that you don't need to be exposed to any opinions that are different than yours, right? That's harmful. That's hate, to hear something that is different from your worldview, right? And we're sheltering these kids from the outside world when, again, when they get into the real world, okay, and they don't have that shelter, they're less equipped to handle it, right? And that's a big issue. We have the softest society in generations, right? In generations, okay? We used to have a society when we sent 18-year-olds to war, right? To fight and die in a war, okay? Now, we're afraid for 18-year-olds to hear opinions that are different than theirs. That's the point we're at, okay? Now, here's the thing. This family's moving. I wonder where they're moving to, okay? Because there's not a lot of red states they can move to where, again, this stuff is not going to be banned there too. Again, they claim that, well, we're fortunate enough we can afford to move out of Florida. Well, Florida doesn't have any state income tax. The place they're most likely going to have to move to is probably going to have to be some blue state like California and New York, where all of a sudden you're going to be paying 40, 50% of your income to the government. Again, I wonder how that's going to work out in the long term, right? I'm just saying.
I do fear for my daughter's safety, and just the fact that somebody might want to hurt her just for her being her.
Nobody wants to hurt her for her being her. There's no epidemic of violence against trans people. Again, this is brainwashing from the mainstream liberal media. There's not one fact to back up this idea that there's some type of violent attacks being committed against trans people. Because they're trans, it's just not a thing. It's just not happening, right? Nobody's doing that, okay? And if it does happen, it is extremely rare, and most likely it didn't happen because they were trans. It probably happened for the same reason that most acts of violence happen, is because there was some other type of dispute, right? Not because they're trans, not because they're gay, not because of their skin color, okay? Not because of any of that stuff that the mainstream liberal media tries to throw out there. It happened because of some other type of personal dispute. Again, these people have been brainwashed, again, the parents more specifically, by the liberal media into believing nonsense, myths, when it comes to violence against trans people that are not backed up by any facts or evidence whatsoever.
For her existence is scary. I worry about her every time she goes out. Almost the wide open view.
Yeah, sunsets are great from here.
No. I'm looking forward to just being in a place where I don't feel under attack, where I don't feel oppressed. It's just so sad that our country and our society are in this place of denigrating people like that and making them feel like they have no place.
It's just hard to start over all over again.
CNN is going full Babylon B here, okay? This is why they're the clown news network, okay? Because this is clown behavior, this is clown reporting, right? And it's just, to me, it's crazy how you have this stuff happen in society where people think that they're oppressed because kids can't, undergo sex change operations and get access to these hormones that, again, they don't know anything about. They really don't understand the long-term effects of it, right? And they think that, again, for some reason they're victims because they're being told that, hey, you need to wait a few more years before, your child is able to get on this type of stuff. It's crazy to me. It really is. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.